Miami. It's awesome.
Okay.
And she's free to come over and speak. And then I was gonna get, Too Tall. The guy's about 7 foot.
Nope.
You mean too short?
Ed Too Tall Jones?
He's got a short story.
So hard.
Is he,
Was he the Gerald?
is he around?
Was he the guy that was at
Yeah,
CA
he
last
comes
night?
here and he comes to the West Shore.
I've heard the
Too
legend.
tall.
River City.
I don't know.
He's a really good talker.
He was pretty tall.
Cowboy.
He was mad about it too.
Huh?
About being too tall?
It's all about being tall, this guy.
It's like, dude, you might as well get over it. You can't do anything about it.
Well, I mean, I can't really blame. I've been mad
Talking
about being
that
short
guy
my whole
last
life,
night?
so.
Yeah.
I just want
Yeah.
high heels.
He's 6
Oh, you were
foot
there.
11. Remember that guy?
Yeah,
last night?
I did. That's why I was wondering if that's the guy they're talking about.
6'11". Jeez.
But he's like 6'11",
But,
6'10",
but
something
his,
like
I
that.
was talking
Where
to
was
him
he speaking?
after the meeting. He said his mom is like
Yeah,
4'11",
he's sick and tired of
and his
people
dad is
questioning how
5'10".
tall I am.
Yeah, I saw a guy
No,
walking by
Mike.
the ball and said.
How tall is mailman?
Yes, 6'11". On the back.
Yeah.
No,
He's like 7'2". I'm like, I don't know.
I think it might be the same guy.
No,
No,
man.
this is the Tyler about the 19.
He talked about getting a t-shirt that said that.
Yeah.
That's just
I
one
think
of those
that's
things
funny.
you just gotta
Okay,
accept,
now
you
this
know, we're
is
just.
38.
Oh, I don't know.
You know where we watch Park?
Like being short.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I just don't know. Like, it's.
Short people live longer.
You got a shirt that said short lives matter.
Yeah,
That's
he
where
did.
he's
That's funny.
You're not so mad about
had a lot to do with.
I've thought about getting leg extensions.
it.
I
Really?
saw it on.
Thinking about getting a robot, a metal leg.
I'm kidding. I'm not. I mean, if that was a thing, I might do it.
We're gonna get her a ladder. Like it's like it's.
I just get platform shoes. It's fine.
My mom was short.
Bring those back
My
in.
mom, she would never come and she would go to read something like that. She'd be like, Dave, come get this. I'm too short. You go stand on the newspaper. Week 25, where we going to, 30 or 33?
No, we ain't going 33.
You're very tall.
I like
though, so
hearing
that's-
that. I'm sticking it out, Danny.
My daughter's.
I might, you're gonna be, take the day off into
Like, where is
September,
it?
'cause I'll be gone for 2 weeks in September.
Don't worry about it. It's online. All right, everybody. Let's go ahead and get started. Glad everybody's here. Okay. We are on week 25. We're rounding the bend. 3 or 4 more weeks left. Couple of things to mention, I guess. I don't know, those of you that don't know that Scott, that used to sit up front here, he passed away this week. So I think on the middle of August is gonna be memorial for him, but and Willie's recovering. He's at home with his quadruple bypass. And all right, so another thing, a little house cleaning is, so I've shared this with you before. I've been doing this particular class for, I think this is the 28th year in a row, every week. And now, the last couple of years, it's online. So all of these classes are online and in one spot on YouTube, and the year before was on spot in another YouTube channel. So January, after we finish, we got 3 or 4 more weeks left. We'll be done. January, we're gonna start again. Probably around mid-January, I'll get the date passed around, put flyers up. But I've made a decision that's gonna be my last time doing this. So just let you know if anybody wants to attend. Probably gonna do it here again, yes, in January, but I'm not, after that, I'm finished. I do these things all over the country, all over the world in little parts and workshops, you know. But to do the whole kind of 30-week deal is, I don't think there's any need for it because it's all online now. You can see it, so. Huh?
Yeah.
So just letting you know, in case anybody wants to attend next year in January, it's your last shot to do it live. All right. So we were on step 10, right? I don't know where we left off, but let's go on page 85. So, first paragraph, it's easy to let up on the spiritual program of action and rest on our laurels. I think we all have experience with that, right? But the problem with this is we're headed for trouble if we do, for alcohol is a subtle foe. We're not cured of alcoholism, so if I'm not cured of it, then my alcoholism is only suppressed. Okay, that's probably the best way to say it. My alcoholism has been suppressed. So what we really have is a daily reprieve contingent on the maintenance of our spiritual condition. And it's important to understand what they're talking about here, because a lot of people misunderstand that one sentence. What we really have is a daily reprieve, and that's contingent on the maintenance of our spiritual condition. It is not contingent on your spiritual condition. Too many of us are running around the rooms worried about how spiritual we are. Am I spiritual enough? Do I feel spiritual? Do I sound spiritual? Do I look spiritual? How spiritual am I? People that have spirituality don't need to ask, how they're doing spiritually. They know. And they get off kilter a little bit. They know it. They feel it. So what?
Can you say what you said? Bring me to again. You said two different things.
I don't know.
Okay.
What was it? What did I say?
The book says you're,
Oh, I said, okay. The book says what we really have is a daily reprieve contingent on the maintenance of our spiritual condition. That's in the book.
Yeah.
What I said was what we really have that my spiritual condition is my daily reprieve is not contingent on my spiritual condition, is what I said.
It's contingent on the maintenance.
It's contingent on the maintenance. That's what the sentence says. But the sentence says what we really have is a daily reprieve contingent on the maintenance of our spiritual condition, not contingent on the spiritual condition. Because if you have to worry about what your spiritual condition is, it's probably not good. So if you concern yourself with the maintenance of doing the work, in other words, doing the work, and not maintaining the level of sobriety or spirituality that you have, but doing the work to continuously grow spiritually. Which we said before, these are not maintenance steps, they're growth steps. We're supposed to grow here in these 10, 11, and 12 steps. So the daily reprieve is contingent on on doing the work on a regular basis. That's the important thing to remember there. Every day is a day when we must carry the vision of God's will into all our activities. How can I best serve thee? Thy will, not mine, be done. These are thoughts which must go with us constantly. We can exercise our willpower along this line all we wish. It is the proper use of the will. So another important point here. If you're wondering what the proper use of your will is, it's telling you right here what it is. The proper use of your will is how can I best serve thee? Thy will, not mine, be done. That is the proper use of your will. What is your will? You remember?
To maximum
No.
service to God.
Now, what is your will? We did this back in the third step. It's our thoughts. It's our thinking. Okay.
The use of our brain.
Use of your thinking, yes. We can exercise this willpower along these lines all we wish. It is the proper use of the will. So it's about your thinking. I think last week we said there's 3 things that are important to keep track of in the 10th step. Thoughts and motives, words and actions. Thoughts and motives, words and actions. Those are the 3 things that are very important in the 10th step. Mike?
on that word, say that, how can I best serve it?
thy will, not mine, be done. I think what he's wanting to do is exercise willpower, that's, put there, hyphen in there. That's got forensic, around that,
Not mine.
will. Not mine?
Yeah.
Well, the words, it sounds like, you're saying, thy will, not mine, be done.
Yeah. God's will, not mine.
Well, actually, you're saying, God will not, my will be done.
Right. God's will, not mine, be done.
Well,
Thy will, thy is capitalized, so he's talking about God. Thy will, not mine, be done.
all right, but what I'm saying is, when you're putting a not at the end of God's will, God's will not be done.
Well, that's what the book says in parentheses, not mine. So it's how can I best serve thee? Capital T, right? How can I best serve God? And then capital T again, God, thy will. And in parentheses, not mine. So not my will be done, God's will be done.
So you're throwing a not in there with not and positive. So it would be, how can I best serve thee? Thy will be done, not mine.
Well, it's saying that, but they got it written differently, but it's saying the same thing. We're talking about God's will, not mine. How can I best serve God? Is by thinking and doing about God's will, not mine. To be done. So really, we're talking about if I check my thoughts, then my actions is the be done part, right? If I check my thoughts, then the action part will be correct, and that's the be done would be the action part. Does that make sense what I'm saying? So it's thy will, not my will. So my thinking has to be aligned with what's God's will in this situation. And then if I'm there, then my action will replicate that or enforce that. It won't belie that. So that's what they're asking us to do. We're on page 85, Michelle.
Danny,
Yes.
it was thoughts, motives, and what?
So it's thoughts and motives is one thing, and words is another thing, and actions is the third thing. So those three things that we need to keep watch of for the reason is simple. All three of those things can get me in trouble. And all three of those things do get me in trouble. So I need to be mindful of those things.
Well, once you say it, you can't unsay it.
Yeah. So that's why we learn how to pause a little bit. Okay.
Yeah.
So it says, much has already been said about receiving strength, inspiration, and direction from him who has all knowledge and power. If we have carefully followed directions, we've begun to sense the flow of his spirit into us. To some extent, we have become God conscious. We have begun to develop this vital sixth sense, but we must go further, and that means more action. Okay, so you can't do the 10-step the way the book suggests you do it and remain the same. Your relationships are going to get better. Your relationships with God, your relationship with yourself, your relationships with others, they're all going to get better. The issue, the thing is that lasting freedom from alcohol and drugs has its price. And so does the happiness that we want in sobriety. And that price is eternal vigilance. Okay. We have to stay on top of it all the time. Internal vigilance and taking inventory, and internal vigilance and thinking before I do. And then we talked about those three things to be on the watch out for, right? And I think it was last week, I said something, I can't remember who I was talking to. I think it was Shannon. Shannon, are you on here? She's MIA. She said something and I said, that is a great example. Bring that up next week. And she's not here to bring it up. I don't remember what she said. Huh?
She's camping.
He's got a big family thing going.
Oh, okay. Well, I can't remember what she shared, but it was a great example of, we talked about in 6 and 7 that the action is rarely the defect. Remember that?
Yeah.
Remember we talked about that and she shared something. And so that's what we want to do here in 10, because 10 is again 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, right? On a regular basis. So, and it's like, I found out that anger is not necessarily related to what other people said or did. It really grew out of my own fears, anxieties, and feelings of insecurity. That's where my fears come from, more so than what somebody said or did. So it's much more comfortable to deal with these thoughts and these feelings before they're exposed. And that's why in this step, we talked about when we're wrong, promptly admit it. So if I'm right on it to fix it, then it's easier to deal with. That's why I use the catchwords for this step to check yourself before you wreck yourself. Check yourself before you wreck yourself. So this here is about, what we do here is about getting sober, not better. Some people, they're just too obsessed with getting better. Some people have been sober a long time and haven't gotten any better. Have you noticed that? You know any of those people? They're all around us. Sober a long time and still pretty sick. The problem with thinking that we're going to get better is that for alcoholics, we can never really get better enough. It's always about, I'll be better when I lose 20 pounds, or when I find the right mate, or when I get the right job, or the right car, or the right house. When Ed McNair knocks on my door and tells me I won the prize, you know. The list goes on forever, right? And those are the things that are going to make me better. With it, if only people. If only I had this, if only this happened to me, if only this, I'd be better, right? Another thing we do is when we get close to the finish line of whatever we move the finish line, so we never get better enough. So let's forget about getting better. Let's get sober. Let's practice sobriety. The people who wrote the big book understood that. That's why they said progress, not perfection. So step 10 is about progress, not perfection.
Danny,
Yes.
what do you think they came up with step 10 to help keep you stuffing? You know, it's kind of like I was taught, you got all these things and you have pile drugs and alcohol on top of them, you get rid of the drugs and alcohol and you still got this cup full of
Yeah, we
stuff.
did that way back in the first step. Yeah.
First step's where you
Yeah, we
quit
did that.
stopping
Remember we
stuff?
made the test tube alcoholic way back in step 1?
Yeah,
So yeah, I don't know. I kind of think that Bill did 10 steps so we would be diligent about working 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 regularly. You know, because that's really all this is. You know, it's 4 through 9 on a regular daily basis.
I took out one of the loopholes.
Yeah,
Continue.
no, it wasn't. Yeah. We were just talking about before the meeting that I think AA, right? I think AA they forgot that they haven't learned the lessons from the Washingtonians and the Oxford group. because they changed the preamble. And it doesn't matter where you fall on that topic, whether you're for it or against it is irrelevant. The fact that they went there, that's politically correct, so to speak. So they made a politically correct move, and we don't get involved with those kind of things. And they shouldn't have changed anything just to be politically correct. That's not what Alcoholics has never been about. But now I guess they are, right? The whole world is changing, so. All right. So I want to look at still getting better, because we have a tendency to travel way too fast, nosebleed speed, I call it, right? We're so busy getting better. I'm better and better and better. I'm getting better. And I forget to be where I'm at. And I forget to do what I'm supposed to do. And we forget to build a decent foundation. And the first time the big bad wolf comes along, he huffs and puffs and blows your house down. Because you've been so concerned about getting better rather than building a good foundation and recovery. Another thing that is of importance is that the intellect is not the weapon of choice in all situations. Since life is essentially learned by doing, and only to a very small degree learned by watching or learned by reading or learned by thinking, the only way we're going to learn the things we need to know is by being put in situations where we'll have to learn by doing. And now we have another tool. We have this 10 step. Remember what it said in the 10 step? It said, as we go along, right? Back on page 84. This brought us to step 10, which suggests we continue to take personal inventory and continue to set right any new mistakes as we go along throughout the day, remember? So it's not about thinking, it's about doing. And then the word promptly, we just talked about that. The sooner I admit my wrong, the less harm it will do me and others. I still don't like to admit I'm wrong, even in little things, but if I'm lost on the highway today, we have GPS, we don't have to worry about that, right?
Yeah.
Before that, though, I hate to stop and ask for directions. So, but delaying my admitting that I'm wrong suggests that I'm secretly fighting the 10th step, hoping that the error is going to correct itself, and that's not going to happen. And delay usually means that matters get worse. So they want us to clean stuff up right away. We can even pay interest on emotional pain when we deal with, when we delay in admitting something that we did wrong. Okay, so and we went over, did we go over the second set of promises? Yes, we did, right?
Yes.
Okay. So step 10 is based on how well I've done 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And most people can't do a real good step 10 because they haven't really done 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Well, they've done a partial inventory, they looked at a couple of defects of character, but they haven't really got into that stuff. Okay. Anybody got any questions on the 10 step? Any questions? Anybody got any questions on the first 10 steps? Rich?
I'd just like to explore a little more with you this one. You know, the way that I see the genesis of the big book is, you know, sort of started out with almost like a church. Still very church. And you know, many of us try to just ask God and Jesus. But the problem with me was it's sort of a once a week deal. Sometimes the message of church is not all about being kind clubbing. It's very different. And so this program is 100%. What I see, 100%. And I like the concept that, you know, there's no way you can read enough, study enough. You have to experience certain things and then learn from doing our lives.
Thank you.
So I think that's what you're saying. And it seems like a really wise thing. I don't see that explained that well, but
Well, let me give you an example. One of my brothers, he's dead now. He was genius, truly a genius. He was very, very smart. He, if you gave him a book, he could speed read. He'd go read the book in 5 minutes, and then you gave him a test, he'd get 100. But he had no common sense. I think I shared about him before in here. He'd buy a watch from a guy selling it on the street, right? For $50. The guy said it was worth 500. It's a $2 watch. But he was smart. You see, so, but that's not how we learn here. Remember the formula I gave you guys, knowledge plus practice? And the book talks about that a couple of different places. So knowledge plus practice. So I got to practice the knowledge that I get in order to learn. Knowledge plus practice equal learning. Unless I practice the knowledge, I don't really learn anything. It's not like in school where you know, if you take the test that you've learned something. No, you don't learn it here until you practice it. Look at it like this, right? You can read a book about how to golf, and you can get all of the fundamentals and all the knowledge of the golfing game down, but you don't know a damn thing about golf until you get out there and start practicing. Right? So you have to get out there and practice. And it used to be, when I first started doing this, we used to use typing as an example. Well, that's an archaic word now, isn't it? So I don't know what you would replace it with. Working on a computer, I guess, you know. But typing was something that was taught in schools, right? So there was not much to learn about. It was all learned by doing. And that's what AA is about. The big book is learned by doing. We have to take the steps off the wall and put them in our life into practical application for them to become alive and well and in us. Be a part of us. Okay. So one more thing I want to go over in the 10 step. Remember your 4-step sheets? Well, we can use these in the 10 step too, in a slightly different way. So if I look at column 1, right? If I'm doing a quick inventory and I just put whoever in column 1, I can't change things that appear in this column because it's about other people or other institutions, right? And in column 2, I can't change things that appear here either because it's still about other people. In column 3, I gave this column to God. He controls this column. Okay. So columns 4 and 5, that's where my work is here in the 10 step, columns 4 and 5. So if I looked at, you know, and we had the 4 absolutes, and is it true? Is it right? Is it ugly? Is it beautiful? So I can ask myself these questions, and that all helps me with step 10. Is it necessary? Is it kind? You know, how's it going to affect others? So these are all things I can ask myself in step 10. Anybody got any more questions on the 10 step?
Yeah, Dan, this
Yes.
is Dan. I got a question.
Sure.
We hear often trying to do the next right thing. Could you explain how that ties in with with what we read here on page 85 about how to best serve thee, thy will be done, etc.?
Well, it's a good question, Dan. The problem is that most of us don't know what the next right thing is, unless you've been around for a while. When I got here years ago, they used to say it a lot. I don't know if they still say it much anymore, but I don't think I hear it as much, probably because I don't go as many meetings, but they used to say all the time, live life on life's terms. That didn't work for me. Because if I live life on life's terms, that means I smack you upside your head and take your shit. You know? Basically, that's what that meant for me, right? And do what I want, whenever I want, to whoever I want, and I don't care about nothing like that. And that's how I always live my life. So the next right thing, what does that mean? What is the next right thing? That's why we need a sponsor. That's why we need to be connected to a group, a home group, so people get to know me, so people can call me out on my shit when I'm acting up. And you know, the more people, healthy people I have around me, the healthier my life is going to be. And I get to learn what the next right thing is. So at the beginning, I think I got away from your question there, but yeah, that's kind of what that means. But I think the important part of that, though, is the guidance that we get. You know, so at the beginning, a sponsor or you people will tell me what the next right thing is, and then I'll do my best to do that. But again, the question is, how can I best serve thee? Thy will, not mine, be done. So, whatever the next right thing is, you know, and those questions that I just ran off from the 4 absolutes. Those are great questions to ask on anything that I'm going to do, that I'm thinking about doing, that I'm already doing. If I just run those through my head and test myself, and again, if I get a negative response on any one of them, I need to stop and not do that stuff. Well, that's a really powerful tool. And then last couple of weeks ago, we went over the 9-step promises that tells me where I'm off kilter. So these are all things that help me understand what the next right thing is. Well, if you're new, you probably don't know what the next right thing is. For you and me and, you know, those that have been around for a while, we damn well better know what the next right thing is at this point.
Yeah.
I don't have the excuse anymore. I can't say I didn't know. I can't go through life anymore and say I didn't know. Because I damn well know. I know well enough today, you know. So when I do something that ain't right, it's because I'm stuck in self, and there's no God in the equation. So does that help you, Dan?
You bet.
All
Thank
right.
you.
So to recap, you had said before that step 10 is referred to as the maintenance step, but you're saying it's not really.
Yeah, I don't refer to it. 10, 11, and 12. 10, 11, and 12 are known in the rooms as that people say the maintenance steps, but they're really not. You know. So it depends how you use the word, right? The word maintenance kind of implies to if you look up the definition of the word maintenance, it means to keep something as it is. So that's not really what we want to do. We don't want to stay stagnant where we're at. We want to continuously grow spiritually. So these are growth steps if they're used right. And in the thing that we read tonight, where it says the daily reprieve is contingent upon the maintenance of it, that's insinuating that I keep doing the work, right? And it's the same work, right? Right. So in that sense, in that sentence, the word maintenance fits, but to say that these are maintenance steps doesn't fit. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Who else got a question?
Danny, is the 4 absolutes a tool that's written in the book?
No. They come out of the Oxford group. They come out of the Oxford group, and did you not get one of those?
Yeah, I did. I gave somebody your copy.
Okay.
You know, in working with sponsees in early sobriety, people are usually so messed up that you start out with like, oh,
Yeah.
because it's a gut, it's not wrong.
Yeah.
And then they go, yeah, but there's too many choices on what's right. And this just seems like a really good stepping stone or maybe triage,
Yeah,
you know what?
I don't use it so early in recovery. I don't use it for new people, but I'm not saying you can't. I don't. And
Yeah, probably too big.
and it may very well help somebody new, but I want to somebody new. I just want to focus them just on the first step, and even the pre-step. That if you remember that, right? That's where the focus got to be. I never understood why we go to beginner meetings and they're talking about 1, 2, 3. There's no sense talking about 2 and 3 to a beginner. I shared with you what they did down in Florida that I went to when I first moved down there. I looked on the schedule to see what kind of meeting was in. It was a beginners meeting, and I said I was about 15, 20 minutes away. So I went to this beginners meeting, and they had a set of chairs set up in a circle in the middle of the room, and then chairs like this all around. So I went and sat in the middle, at the table in the middle, and the guy says to me, "Oh, you're new?" No, I said, "No, I'm not new. I just moved down here." And he said, "Oh, this is for the newcomers here." And I said, "Oh, okay." So I got up and I sat in one of these chairs here. And then when the meeting started, the table was full, and the whole meeting was letting these new people share. And then like 5 or 7 minutes or 10 minutes left at the end, and they picked a few people to share. And I was like, I'm not coming back here. I didn't move there to tell them how to change and that they're not doing it right. And I know how the right way to do it. This is not for me. And I never went back to that meeting. But that doesn't make any sense to me, right? If you go to a beginner meeting here, we may let at the end of the meeting, Burning Desire may let the newcomers share, but we don't let the newcomers all share. What do they got to offer? If all you people were just new and we spent the whole hour letting you share, who's going to learn anything?
Nobody.
Nobody. Because what can they can only talk about drinking and using. They can't talk about sobriety because they know nothing about sobriety. So they need to hear what you have to say to have some sobriety. That's what so I don't know how I got on that. Okay. All right. Any other questions before we move on? Okay. Step 11. Step 11. Sort through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood him, praying only for knowledge of his will for us and the power to carry that out. All right. That's a mouthful there, right? So the 11th step, again, if you've been around a long time and you've been in many meetings, you've heard many, many things about prayer and meditation in the 11th step. The big book of Alcoholics Anonymous is so beautiful that it cuts through all of the bullshit and it breaks down really what this step is really about easily. It's not difficult, and we make it difficult. You've heard people say this is a simple program for complicated people with a difficult disease. That's exactly right. Right?
I was gonna say, that sounds good.
Yeah.
Pretty much on the money.
Yeah.
Nailed it.
Yeah.
So we just finished the 10th step in understanding and figuring out who we are is a big part of recovery, right? There's a thing in the CA storybook. Was a story where the guy mentions Michelangelo and the statue of David, and a guy asked Michelangelo, how did he come to make such a beautiful statue? And it's talking about the statue of David, and Michelangelo said it was simple. I just took a chisel and just a piece of marble, right? And I chiseled away everything that wasn't David. And that's what we're doing here. we're chiseling away everything that really ain't us. Remember the story that Joe wrote about the old rocking chair that's been covered up and painted over and covered in, and you know, that's really not what the chair is. It's really not what you are. Okay. So the 11th step, taking all this knowledge, the first 11 steps gave us everything we need to, the first 10 steps gives us everything we need to do the 11th step. I had to take step 1 so I could do step 2, right? I had to understand powerlessness and unmanageability so I can look to find somebody where there's power, right? But I couldn't see the solution until I understood what the problem was. So those 2 steps gave us what we needed to do to make the 3rd step a decision. And next we had to carry out that decision. But there were things that blocked us from God, and we couldn't get on with turning our will and our life over to the care of God until we removed the things that blocked us, right? So we did steps 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And as a result of these actions, we removed what was blocking us from God. Now we can carry out the decision that we made in step 3. Here in the 11th step, we can now carry out this decision that we made in step 3. So steps 3 and 11 are the pillar of the steps. And the steps have 2 crucial points. These 2 steps have 3 and 11 have 2 crucial points. The turning of our will in step 3 and the receiving of God's will in step 11. Let me see.
Wait, say again, turning over our will.
The turning over of our will in step 3 and the receiving of God's will in step 11. So here, our will interacts with God's will. So in step 3, we give up the direction. And 11, we receive God's direction. So in 3, we turned our will and our lives over to the God as we understood him. And in 11, we received God's will in our lives and the power to carry that out from God as we understood him. I'm done with that. Now, here's where we get complicated and hard to understand and just confuse the shit out of ourselves and others because we think about what is meditation and what is prayer. And I want to tell you the biggest mistake that people make, my experience, it's not out of the book, my experience from working with people, doing these workshops all over the world, talking with thousands of people. People get up in the morning. I used to do it. I did it my first 3 or 4 years sober. I haven't done it since then. It's been over 25 years since I've done what I'm going to share with you. But most people get up in the morning and they take out all their meditation books. And I had about 4 or 5 of them. And I'd read all my meditation books. And then I'd get up and I'd go out. And I think I was doing the 11th step. It says sought through prayer and meditation. It doesn't mention anything about reading meditation books. They're not sought through meditation books. Now, if you can read meditation books in addition to prayer and meditation, you're okay. But if you're reading meditation books thinking you're doing the 11th step in lieu of the prayer and meditation, you're way off base and you're never going to get the benefits from this step. This is not about reading meditation books. again, if you could read the meditation books in addition to your prayer and meditation, good. But if you're reading meditation books in lieu of prayer and meditation, you're off base, you're wrong, and you can't get the results for it. So I'm going to give you the best, easiest way to look at the 11th step. There's 3 things. Write this down. There's 3 things that the 11th step is telling us, and they're right in our face, and people just don't understand it. Number 1, the tool. Number 2, the goal. Number 3, the direction. The tool, the goal, the direction. This is life-changing shit I'm sharing with you right now. The tool, the goal, the direction. What am I talking about? Let's read the 11th step. Sought through prayer and meditation. That is the tool to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood him. That is the goal. Praying only for knowledge of his will for us and the power to carry out. That is the direction. The tool, the goal, the direction. Do you see how simple the 11th step really is?
What's the direction again, please?
The direction is praying only for knowledge of his will for us and the power to carry it out. The power to carry that out. Look at page 59 at step 11. Bottom of the page, 59. Step 11. The tool, the goal, the direction. The tool. Sought through prayer and meditation. That is the tool. The goal, to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood him. That is the goal. And praying only for knowledge of his will for us and the power to carry that out is the direction. It's always been there right in front of your face. People never get it though. So, if I'm understanding this right now, then the tool that I'm supposed to use in the 11th step is what? Prayer and meditation, not books. I pray, talk to God. I listen to God. We're going to talk about, probably next week, we're going to get into what does it mean to meditate and all that stuff. I'm going to tell you what it does not mean. It does not mean clear your mind, quiet your mind. People think that to meditate, to quiet your mind. I don't know about you guys. It is impossible for me to quiet my mind. My mind don't shut the fuck up.
Too many.
My mind just don't shut up. I cannot quiet my mind. So if that was what meditation is, I can't do meditation. That's not what meditation is, though. We'll talk more about that. Well, it's about focusing your mind. It's about, well, you can watch it online. But it's about focusing your mind. So instead of quieting your mind, you want to learn how to focus your mind. Okay, and we'll talk more about that.
Well, that's a whole nother practice.
Yeah. So the tool is to take prayer and meditation, learn how to talk to God, learn how to listen to God. Sometimes listening to God includes you people. Because you heard it before, God talks through others, right?
Yep.
Okay. So the tool is to use prayer and meditation. The goal is to improve my conscious contact with God as I understood him.
Now, Danny,
Yes, sir.
on that, I've gotten now to where like if I run into a problem, say fixing, repairing something. I'm like, God, help me with this, like help me read this wiring schematic. Or something a little bit more complicated than what I'm computing. And it's gotten where it's just a go-to thing. And instead, at first I had to work at doing it.
Well, of course,
So that's practicing, right?
absolutely, because you have to work at doing this.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to work at doing this. Yeah,
Okay.
knowledge plus practice.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
also knowledge plus practice, that's a nice way to do it.
You can't practice knowledge.
No, you have to practice, practice, practice. But the goal again is to improve my conscious contact with God as I understood him.
Right. Start relying on him.
Again, they use the past tense word, understood, rather than the present tense, understand.
Why is that?
Well, because the same reason it was at the beginning when they used it in step 3 is because that's what you come here with. And by the time you get to step 3, it's whatever little bit you've learned is or thought about God, and
That's what you understood.
and in step 2, the search for God began.
Uh-huh.
And so when you get to step 3, it's God as we understood him from the before that,
Gotcha.
before the third step, so from the second step. And now it's God as you understood him. So up till now, what is it you understood about God? What is from there, you have to build the relationship and change the relationship, improve the relationship. Conscious contact to improve, it says to improve. So from what I understood about God, it needs to be improved.
And that's a lifelong thing.
Oh, yeah, it's a lifelong thing. That's a good thing. It's a lifelong thing.
So
Absolutely.
when I'm getting all twisted at work, I'm using my tools to know what I'm supposed to do to remain calm. And then I'm using my direction to know that I'm supposed to be doing what I'm doing by using my tools.
You can apply this to situations like that, but we're really talking about doing what we need to do in the 11th step with between you and God. But
I asked God to help me.
Sure. Yeah.
During work.
Yeah, but don't forget at work, you can always stop your day and start over again, right? Well, remember what we do? We just go enough, and then we take a deep breath and we go whatever, and we start over again.
That's more on my character.
Yeah. So yeah. Yeah, so I mean, if you tried to apply this to situations, it probably would help a little bit. But we're talking about between you and God, what we're going to do here to improve your conscious contact with God. Okay, so we're talking about improving the relationship that we have with God. Now, the kicker is the direction for me to do this is to pray only for knowledge of his will for us and the power to carry it out, nothing else. That's a very difficult part. They're all difficult at the beginning, but this is a difficult part. I think this stays difficult no matter how long you've been sober. Maybe even gets more difficult as you stay sober, because I think all these years later, I know what the right thing to do is. I know, and sometimes I just don't know. Sometimes I just don't know. So the praying only, and there's no mistakes here. Praying only for knowledge of his will for us and the power to carry that out. So that's what I need to talk to God about. I need to talk to God about what is this that he wants for me to do. And then I need to listen. Pray and meditate, talk and listen. Speak to God, listen to God. And run it by somebody else. And run it by, please don't get in the habit of signing God's name to your bullshit. Because we do that way too much. We like to sign God's name to our bullshit. It's a God thing. Why? Me and her being together, it's a God thing. You know,
It was meant to be.
if you was at the relationship workshop, you would have heard me say, you know, God's not a pimp. He's not gonna put this woman in my life, right? It's not his job to give me the right woman. So what I need to do is make myself the best that I can be, so I'll attract the right kind, you know. But so stop signing God's, you know, like people come into the meeting, oh, that's a God thing. This parking lot was just as I was pulling up, somebody was pulling out. Right in front, I got the greatest, it's a God thing. No, somebody just left right before you got here. It's just that simple. I don't think God's got the time to worry about your friggin' parking space. I don't think he, I got more important shit for my God than to worry about where I park, huh? So.
Like even when you pray, like for in the beginning when I was praying about other people, I wouldn't ask for stuff specifically for myself, but I would ask him to do stuff in other people's life. But at some point I realized that I just need to ask his will be done in others' lives as well, because me thinking that I knew praying specific things for other people was me trying to think that like I wasn't humble, you know, like I knew best over their life.
Yeah. You know, and as we read the literature, it's gonna talk about that, but it tells us that we pray only for, you know, only for ourselves, that we don't ask, because we don't know what, you know, we don't know what God's plan is for other people. And to pray like that is to presume that we know what's best for them and not God. We know better than God, right? So that's not really the case. So we pray for the knowledge of his will for us and the power to carry that out. And that's all we pray for. Only see, that's why I said, well, praying only, not about little Joseph that's got cancer. It's a sad thing, or you know, or some great cause that makes much common sense to have feel it heartedly, you know. That's not our business. We're praying only for the knowledge of his will for us and the power to carry that out. So if you remember what the direction is, you cut all that stuff out.
Sometimes I always have to ask, and also give me the strength to do your will.
Well, that's and the power to carry it out.
Because
Yeah.
sometimes I don't always have it.
Yeah.
Give it to me.
Yeah, you know, that's what the step is telling us. It's telling us to pray for the power to carry it out. But there is a thing in our literature that says you can pray for somebody else if you include the words, if it be thy will. Right? Is that what it says? If it be thy will. So you can pray for somebody else if you just include, if it be thy will. But when we get over here and we read what the direction really is, the direction is really quite clear. Praying only for knowledge of his will for us and the power to carry that out, which is important, the power to carry that out. I need to be able to carry that out, you know. And usually, you know, I don't want to be presumptuous and say God's work, but usually the right thing, my work really, not God's work. Usually the right thing is not the easy way. It's certainly not the easier, softer way. I want the easier, softer way, you know. So we're going to talk a lot about God next week, and we only got like 4 minutes left. Who's got a question? Let's answer questions. The rest of this.
Hey, Danny, would the next right thing be the 3 words that you say on 12?
What 3 words?
There's 3 words. Where's 3 words? Page 112.
I see a lot of words on page 112.
First three. Read this book.
Or at least a chapter on alcoholism. No, well, no, the next right thing includes a lot of things, Mike, not just that, you know. I don't even think that we should read this book. I think we should study this book. You
You
know,
gotta read
Rich is,
any you're saying, you know, about others. There's some really good stuff.
oh, yeah,
You know,
Yeah.
about all the problems that happen.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, wow, I got a spiritual condition, and you go home, you know, and with family stuff, there's some really good.
yeah, there's real good stuff right here in this, and what we're gonna start reading next week, really powerful stuff. And we're gonna talk about some other things, so, with the 11th step. So, I mean, the relationship with God is a powerful tool in itself. But the step that's what I wanted to go over this week was the easiness of the step. The step is just, it's nothing that we have to get lost and complicated about it. It's a very simple 3-part basic step. You know, it gives me the tool, it gives me the goal, it gives me the direction. I just need to follow that. Makes sense? All of that makes sense? Anybody else got a question? Anybody online got a question before we close up? Good? All right. So we got 2 or 3 more weeks left, maybe 3 or 4 weeks left. Probably 3, but we'll see. And then we're done till January. So thanks, guys, for sticking in here, sticking it out. See you next week.
Thank you, Danny.
Thanks,
you, Dan.
guys. See you guys.
Thanks a lot, buddy. Have a
Hey,
good week.
Danny. Hey, where's Tom? Is Tom here?
Tom
No.
hasn't been here tonight.
I know. Where'd he go?
I don't know. I'm gonna call him.
Get on him, Dorothy. Get on him. See you guys. All right.
Bye.
Bye. Have a good week.
All right.